It's a tremendous event. I think last year they had something like 5,000 people show up, and there's like 80 vendors and lots of activities for the children, lots of education components. But, we're not shoving things down people's throat. We're just trying to make them aware of how they can make their lives better and their children's lives better by just paying a little bit of attention to the environment.
Do you remember your first Earth Day?
I don't. I actually don't.
I don't either. I wondered if you did.
Yeah, it was a really small event, but I think I remember the second event. But it was really just tucked in the trees there at Old Mill, because that's where it's at, down at Old Mill Park, down on Caroline Street. And there were maybe 30 vendors there, but I think it was the second event. The first one was hardly anything.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of us kind of like saying, "Hey, let's do this." Kind of.
Well, it's become like you say a big deal, and Tree Fredericksburg is involved.
Yes, it's really it was really good. Yesterday, last week, we had the Arbor Day event with the city and the garden clubs, and Tree Fredericksburg, of course, gave our remarks and so on. But it really kind of came home to me that here we are, 15 years after we've started as Tree Fredericksburg, really becoming a strong voice in the city. Not that we haven't been, but we've kind of become the establishment now, as it would, as far as we know what we're doing. We've planted over 9,000 trees now. We've given away 30,000 trees, or at low cost. A lot of our, so this year at Earth Day, we'll be giving away 3,000 seedlings that'll be potted up, so people can take them home and they don't have to rush them into the ground. They'll be in a pot. They just can keep them watered till they get them in the ground. We're going to have dogwoods. We're going to have 600 dogwoods, 600 crab apples. We're going to have some chinkapin oaks, Allegheny chinkapins, which are kind of a chestnut, black cherry. I'm reading from a list here. Persimmons, red maples, river birch, and some oaks. And I wish I had more oaks to give away, but a lot of people are afraid of oaks. They think, oh, that's too big of a tree.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're in a third of an acre here in our house, and of course we have a big garage because we keep all our Tree Fredericksburg equipment. And this large river birch is only, it's about 16 years old, and that's about 55 feet tall now. Oh, see the eagle up there, Ted?
Yeah.
So anyway, and we've planted over 40 trees in our yard since we moved here. So in this small yard, we can accommodate a lot of trees because we don't have grass. But I don't have to cut grass. My sister and I were just talking this morning, and she was complaining about the fact that she had to cut the grass every week and how hard it was getting as she's getting older. And I said, well, there is an answer to that. Just get rid of the grass. But it's harder. It's easy to say that, but I know for a lot of people it's hard to think that way. But we're going to be giving away a few shrubs too. We're going to give elderberry and silky dogwoods. So those are two excellent shrubs to do what we call shrink the edges. So if you've got a big lawn like our next door neighbor here has no grass, has all grass, no trees, what you can do is like take an edge and maybe come in 5 feet. Put down, it used to be you could put down newspapers. Nobody's got newspapers anymore.
Right.
But you can get packing paper from Home Depot, and you lay 5 sheets of that down right on top of the grass, and then put your mulch on top, and then you wait till fall, and you come to our fall sale, and you buy some 1 gallon shrubs for $5, or you can buy 3 gallon trees for $10, which if you had to buy them at the store, those would cost you about $30 to $40, and you can put those in for very low cost, and that will grow just as well as something bigger because it takes longer for something bigger to establish roots. So those little guys are going to establish roots, and so what you can do then is you create a 5-foot buffer along your edge, and you see what we've got here. Of course, no grass, but if you just had those shrubs as a buffer, you wouldn't have to mow that much. We did that at Morey Playground right over here behind our house, and it cut the mowing in half because we put an edge all the way around. So people can still have their grass, and they can still have shrubs that will attract the birds, because birds need shrubs. They need that understory to hide in to move around the yard. When you came into the yard today, you remarked about all the bird songs. And there's hundreds and hundreds of birds in this yard because it is an oasis and it's a place for them to hide from predators. So that's one of the good beauties of it. I'd love to be able to get people to think more about oaks. You could put an oak in this yard. And in fact, I'm thinking about, as the serviceberry in the center of the yard is waning, putting a small oak in there and letting it kind of just grow. Because an oak gives so many benefits.
I was just going to say, you're an evangelist for oaks.
Well, I'm actually following the evangelist Doug Tallamy, and I'm just one of his followers. But, oaks are high volume trees. They give high volume trees and they feed baby birds. Baby birds need caterpillars. Oaks have caterpillars. Over 897 caterpillar species are found on oaks. And you say, well, I don't see that many butterflies. Well, most of them are moths. So there's tons and tons of moth caterpillars that are on the oaks, and that's the key. And that's where birds go, is they go to the oaks to get their food. And an oak gives over 3 million acorns in its lifetime. That feeds bears, deer, chipmunks, squirrels, and of course, it also feeds birds. Blue jays, of course, are one of the best users of oaks, and they take them out and bury them. So they're planting oak trees for us. We don't even have to do it. They're doing it already. And then the oak litter, the leaf litter under the oak tree in the fall, it's a heavier oak. It's a heavier leaf, and it's thicker. And people are like, oh, I don't like that leaf but that's where all the arthropods, the mycelium, the mycorrhizin, the fungi live in order to feed the soil. And so if you look at our oak trees over in Morey Playground, we left the leaf litter there. And that fed that soil, which then fed those trees. And that's why in 13 years, we had 60-foot high oak trees instead of 10-foot oak trees.
Yeah,
and that's the difference. And people need to get that connection going. And it's just a vibrant community of hundreds of species that are connected with oak trees. And that's what you have to think about is, what are you going to do? What are you leaving for this world? And grass, pretty grass, come on. We can do better than that, because grass feeds nothing. And it actually can be a counterproductive for trees. Trees get roots, if you have grass under them, will kind of kill they'll send out a poison. The grass will send out a poison and kill the tree roots.
As we stand here, I've seen, like you said, I'm seeing all different types of birds. I'm seeing pollinators and...
Well, and if you can put your camera over there, you see I've got all kinds of, there's wild strawberries and wild violets. Yeah. I don't have to weed this yard. There is no weeds in this yard. I come out here, I think I was out for 2 hours 2 weeks ago, and then I'll go through maybe for another hour this week, and then I'm done taking care of the yard for the year. I
was just going to ask you, how much work is this?
It's no work. It's zero work. That's what people have to understand.
I envy this.
Well, the thing is, though, and I spoke to my sister this morning, and my poor sister, she's getting used, and I said to her, she says, I want to not have to do so much weeding. I said, then let the wild violets, and she says, oh, I can't do that. That's just not me. And I said, well, then the next level is for you to do shrubs, because a lot of people want to put ground cover down. That doesn't work because the weeds come through the ground cover. Shrubs 2 to 3 feet high will kind of suppress the weeds.
Okay.
And then, in fact, Carolyn Helfrich, who's on our Clean and Green Commission, fabulous designer here in the city, she and I have been talking about the native plants that we can use to design over at her camp park when we get ready to do that design. And a lot of them are gray owl juniper is a fabulous native plant, has juniper berries on it that feeds the birds, gets 2 to 3 feet high. There's a bunch of it in the front of our house that you can take a look at. This shrub that's next to you is a Ilex vomitoria. That's as big as it gets. That's it. I've never pruned that shrub, and there it goes. But there's no weeds under it because it shades out the weeds. Yeah, so that's what you need to think about when you're really looking at plants and what they can do, is how does that fit in? Another way you can do it is to add plants that can do some spreading, but not be over aggressive. So that group of ferns over there, that's, excuse me, I've lost my thought for just a second. Wood fern, yes, that's the wood fern, and marginal wood fern, and it stays evergreen in the winter as well as the summer, can take a little bit of sun, and it'll just spread just slowly enough that it kind of fills that in. Don't have to worry about weeds there. And I've got quite a few of that going through the yard that you can pick up and find, and I welcome people to come. In fact, our garden's going to be open next Sunday, the day after Earth Day. We're going to open it up for the day so people can come in and look at native plants. So I'll just put a sign out front, say walk in, and we'll have that going.
Did this develop? I'm sure you've come up with ideas, and probably each do you. How did this develop like this? I guess that's my question.
Okay, well, when we first moved here, there was nothing here. They had 2 large dogs, unfortunately on chains, and the dogs destroyed everything. So there was 0 plants here. So when you do a garden design, first of all, you do the hardscape. So you do the path. So you can see the path going through the yard. So that was designed as an S-shaped path going through, all the way through. And then I laid the stone. I did all my stone work.
Okay.
And then now I've got that. Now you put the trees in, because that's the backbone of your yard. So we put in the trees, and they were tiny little trees when we put them in. And then what I did to soften and break up the soil is that year I planted a annual ryegrass that penetrated the soil up to maybe 20 inches. And then let that grow through March, and then we cut the ryegrass off, not digging it up, just cut it off, and then we started to plant. And adding, and there's a little chickadee right there, 2 chickadees, pair of chickadees. Now they feed their young 100% caterpillars. If there's a horrible starling, which is a non-native bird, but I can't fight their battles for them. But chickadees won't be in your yard unless they have an oak tree around, because oak trees give them caterpillars.
The number of birds just standing here, it's amazing.
Yeah, there's a white-throated sparrow right there. There's a goldfinch on the feeder. We heard a Carolina wren. We heard a house wren. There's a song sparrow right there at the bird bath. So yeah, we get tons and tons and tons of birds here. I do feed up for a little while longer, and then I stop, because then the garden will provide everything. And we don't pick up our leaves. So I blow them off of the path, and that's it. So here's my yard. I have not picked up one leaf. You see all the trees I've got here, and the birds have shredded them for me and taken care of that, because they go through the yard all winter long looking for food, and they go ahead and take care of my litter, and they break the leaf up, and that turns into compost. That's how easy this yard is. So you can do that with your yard. Everybody can do this with their yard. You just need to kind of chill and relax. You don't want to leave your leaves on your grass, but blow them off into that 5-foot edge that I had you make.
Yeah.
And so I've just planted, can we walk and talk?
We can walk and talk.
Okay. So I just planted some 1-gallon arrowwood viburnums last year. Arrowwood viburnums are great for any kind of yard, because they're natives and they grow like crazy. So you can see them right back here, Ted. I'm going to walk back and show you. So here they are. These were 1-gallon trees from our sale last fall, and look at how
tall they are.
Yeah, look at this is it. So for $5, and that price is subsidized, by the way. And I'm going to come on your show and talk about that some more, but it would be great. And then over here to the left, these are all blueberries that I just planted. This one, he had to replace this one here, so he's coming up. He's a brand new guy, but it's good to have a mixture of blueberries because you'll get better yield. These are elderberry, and I pruned these a little bit they were a little leggy. So these are elderberry that came from our sale. This is a native rose. It's called a pasture rose. And then these are winter berries that came from our sale as well. We have oak leaf hydrangeas and all that type of thing. Now, we're not going to have those now. We're going to have just trees for Earth Day, but I'm going to have 7,500 trees and shrubs in the fall, 25 different trees and 25 different shrubs. So really a great, and we're going to have that posted on our website real soon so people can understand. But this little tree right here is a witch hazel. That came from a little seedling many years ago. Just about everything in the yard comes from 1 gallon seedlings throughout the whole yard. And I mean, there are a few non-natives in here. Would I change it? Probably a few. But I do love the Yoshino cherry in the spring. And you can see the chickadees are eating the berries on the Yoshino cherry. So it does feed the birds. And having on some heavy evergreens, sometimes the best evergreens are non-native. And that's where the birds hide the best. I left that one evergreen over there by the garage because that's where the catbird always nests. I'm growing some other native shrubs that I've taken out, and I'll let them come up, and then I'll take that one out and put then the catbird will have someplace else to nest. But the vines on the arbor over here, we've got both Carolina jasmine and the native honeysuckle are both there for the hummingbirds that are starting to come through the area. And then that flowering bush that's on the side of that is a viburnum. It's a cranberry viburnum. Now that gets pretty big. I kind of prune that back every year, but I don't mind because I really like that.
You've got a lot of time on your hands to do it.
I do have time.
You don't have to mow your lawn every week.
No. And we've always got something coming up. So right now you can see the columbine, the native columbine over here, the orange. That's coming up, and beyond that is my compost bin, which we'll take that compost and spread that in the fall. And I usually get about 15 to 20 bags of leaves from my neighbors. I don't, like I said, if you look back here, you can see where my leaves haven't disintegrated yet, way back there. But they're going to get there. I'm not worried about it. But my neighbors rake their leaves, so I take them and put them in my compost bin and turn them into gold. So that's this yard. But I can take you through. We can do this again sometime because there's a lot going on. But I really do encourage people to think about our native plant sale and think about what we're doing. And maybe I can come in and talk to you about more natives, and also I'd like to talk to folks about their mulching, because that's always something that we're kind of working on so people don't kill their plants with mulch. But that's another conversation, I think.
Another day.